So one of the things I'd love for us to talk about is we've shared a lot of the content of the training, but I know for me and the feedback we get from so many students is that the experience of this training is really powerful. And one thing I've learned from years of graduate work and studying with so many teachers is some teachers have a lot of knowledge, but not necessarily the talent to teach and to create a space that allows for a learning environment that's embodied, that's holistic, that's authentic, and that's safe. And that's one thing I love about the two of you, and it's one thing I really value, is that we really want to create a container that lets people tap into who they are through all the information we're sharing.
Yeah, you know, there's an interesting contrast that I think is related to all of this, which is, and we've talked about it in some of the other conversations we've been having, it's about the difference between a performance orientation versus a process orientation, right? Where I think for a lot of people, they can feel like during teacher training, there's this pressure to be a certain way, to eat a certain way, to practice a certain way, to have a certain voice, to present yourself in a certain way, right? And I think one of the things that we've found over time, without even really realizing it because it's so natural to us, is that we really want to support people in being themselves, and we really want to support breaking that idea that you're not allowed to be weird, and you're not allowed to be vulnerable, and you're not allowed to be curious, you're not allowed to ask inconvenient questions, right? Like, we're all about that process and creating a container within which we're saying, be you, take the journey, learn from us, question, discover your own authentic voice, dig into what you're really interested in and that naturally sort of speaks to you. That's the kind of teacher you're going to be. We're not interested in creating cookie cutter carbon copies of us, little clones working out in the world. It's like the whole thing is to dig deep into your own process and your own journey and see what comes out of that through the container that we're creating.
And I love that. I love watching teachers find their voice, not mimic our voice, but find their voice.
And well, one thing I know Julian says a lot that I love is come as you are. And I think that, you know, that is absolutely what this training is about. You come as you are, and you're going to soak up everything. But what will come out of the material that you soak up will be your own unique perspective. It won't be like, oh, I'm going to teach like Julian or like Trina or like Hala. It's the information that you receive that then we give you the tools to be able to get curious about, be creative with, and to have critical thinking skills around and have the ability to research, because you never stop learning. At least I know we never stop learning. And so the best tools are how to continue the learning process in a way that makes sense for you as an individual and the people that you're hoping to teach.
Yeah. And I think one of my experiences in a lot of my yoga training is this confusion with honoring history or tradition but not growing or progressing. That somehow that means that it's not this original thing. And I know we talk a lot about that, but I think that being able to question is so important, and also understanding everybody's body is different. People come from different cultures, different backgrounds. Their experiences on the mat are going to be different. And for teachers to assume that there's one formula, I think is actually harmful to our students.
Yeah. You know, I do a lot of crossover into the fitness space. I'm also a Pilates teacher. And in the exercise science fitness world, whether you're working one-on-one with somebody or even in a group class, the idea is, what is the student's goal? So you're trying to teach them, you know, based on what their goal is, and as opposed to like, this is my idea for what I'm going to teach and you're going to learn it. And when we can apply that to yoga, I think it's a wonderful thing, not only financially in terms of customer service to your clients and your students, but also individualizing the practice, which was, in my understanding, how the practice was meant to be in the first place.
That's true. It's true. I also like people to question their goals, because I think they are told, well, your goal should be to touch your toes, or your goal should be to wrap or bind in this pose. And like, so, you know, like you were saying earlier, why? Like, what is that going to get you beyond the performance of something that you were told should look a certain way?
Yeah, it's so interesting too, because like my clients will come to me, and one of them just yesterday, you know, I was like, well, what are your goals right now? And she's in her late 50s, and she's like, well, my husband and I are going to about 5 or 6 shows. We're going to Fish, we're going to Roger Daltrey, and like, I just want to not be tired from standing and dancing at all these concerts, you know? And so we can broaden that, I think, in the yoga space too, beyond just like, what are your goals around the poses, but you know, what's happening in your life. And this yoga is a holistic practice that can help you with everything.
Yeah, I like that, because you're again going back to this kind of very real application, right? That this is not about some far off unattainable goal of being the yogi in the cave who's having the grand sort of supernatural revelation. It's like, this is about being embodied, and it's about what do you want to be able to do with your body, and what sorts of issues are you experiencing that maybe you want some relief from, you know? And what I love about including you now, Trina, in what we're doing is just this continuing process of growing and developing and evolving the training, so that we're including up-to-the-minute perspectives from different angles from the beginning that really support both brand new trainees who are doing their first 200 hours and existing teachers who are saying, hey, we want a new perspective, we want new tools, we want some new information. One of the portions that I love teaching the most in the training is the required reading discussion groups. So we work with A Path with Heart by Jack Kornfield, Buddha's Brain by Rick Hansen, In an Unspoken Voice by Peter Levine, and we have assigned readings for each weekend. And with the format that we have where it's stretched out, people really have time to do the readings and reflect and think about what they learned in the previous weekend. And then we get together, we have these rich conversations that, you know, if I didn't put some time limit on them, they would go on for hours, because people are having such an engaged kind of process, really thinking about what's going on behind the postures and the way we talk about the postures and the way we teach and the way we hold space. And are we informed by a more sort of social justice aware perspective? Are we informed by trauma psychology? Are we informed by exercise science in a way where, even if we never mention it in the class, it's bubbling on under the surface as part of what makes us teach the way we do?
Yeah.